stoop down and drink and live. I came to Jesus and I drank of that life-giving stream. My thirst was quenched, my soul revived, and now I live in him.
A reflection on the fifth last word from the cross. After this, Jesus, knowing that all was now finished, said to fulfill the scripture, "I thirst." I find it truly amazing that Jesus offers us some of his most profound teaching and insight right until the moment his earthly life ebbs away. The brevity of his words certainly doesn't lessen their impact or meaning for all our lives. Every Holy Week we hear the ancient scriptures proclaimed that remind us of the many prophecies that were made thousands of years earlier, which were fulfilled in the story of Jesus' death and resurrection, including his last words from the cross. There were, in fact, at least 20 Old Testament prophecies fulfilled during the 24 hours surrounding Jesus' death. When Jesus said, "I thirst," from the cross, he was alluding to a prophecy in Psalm 22, "My mouth is dried up like a piece of pottery, and my tongue sticks to the roof of my mouth. You lay me in the dust of death." The Apostle John had cited this same psalm earlier regarding the dividing of Jesus' garments among the Roman soldiers. The fulfillment of these prophecies is truly astonishing, and surely we can only wonder and be moved at the magnificence and sheer exactitude of God's plan for humanity, culminating in his only Son dying for each one of us. Water is one of the basic necessities that we need to survive as humans. By the time Jesus uttered these words, he had been hanging on the cross in absolute agony for hours, and it was a natural instinct for him as a human to crave water. It was almost 38 years ago, and as a 9-year-old boy, I sat beside my mother, who was bedridden in great pain. Over the course of 3 days, with no obvious cause, a serious illness had suddenly struck this 35-year-old woman. I suspect at the time I didn't really understand the enormity or graveness of the situation. I was a typical 9-year-old, and if told by those caring for me, I would have probably found it too overwhelming and upsetting to be anywhere in the room with her. Despite my age, I still remember clearly the relief and the smile that came over her face when I brought a small cup of water to her lips. Water, the commodity in which we find refreshment and strength, even until the last. 2 days later, she died, leaving an overwhelming pain and bewilderment. I remember vividly being told that she had passed. I remember the scream that came from the depths of my body, and I remember falling to the floor. It is an event I have grappled with all my life. Like all of us who try to come to terms with losing a loved one, I have cried out to God, "Why?" I don't have an explanation to that life-shattering event, but I know in my heart and through my faith in Jesus Christ that I don't really need to know. As the years have passed since her death, I am at peace in the knowledge that I will have to wait until I meet God face to face to have those questions answered. The German theologian Moltmann writes, "When we feel pain, we participate in his pain, and when we grieve, we share his grief. People who believe in the God who suffers with us recognize their suffering in God and God in their suffering. As believers, it is during the trials and challenges of our own lives that we are often brought closer to God." In Jesus' desperate call for water, we see his true humanity, the frailty of his human body needing the basic essentials to survive, water. I know that there on the cross, as a human being, Christ experienced all of our sufferings, our anguish, our pain, our disappointments. But not just for us and those who have gone before, but for the generations to come until he returns again in all his glory. I know that when we bring our concerns, our worries, and our burdens to him, he understands what we are going through. I know that through his suffering and dying on the cross, he has defeated death and claimed the victory for us all.
Of Jesus say, I am this dark world's light. Look unto me, your morn shall rise, and all your day be bright. I looked to Jesus, and I found in him my star, my sun. And in that light of life I'll walk till triumph.